Hi, and welcome to Practical Ideas for Growth. I am Sarah Dobeck, and today I am joined by AIM's 2022 Marketer of the Year, Allison. Allison, if I say your last name, I'm going to butcher it, so I'm not even going to
Hey,
try.
it's okay. I married into that, actually. So it's Schlegelmilch, very Pennsylvania Dutch.
Nice. I like it. I like it. Thank you for saying that. I was like, how am I going to remember it?
All good. You wouldn't be
So
the first.
challenging. Yeah. Well, thank you. And you are with RKL in Pennsylvania, correct?
That is correct. Yeah. For about 10 years
Wonderful.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining us today. I was telling you before in our prep that I always love being able to talk about people's journey and their career in accounting marketing. I can say for a fact that it's not someplace that I thought I'd land out of school, but it was clearly a career path I found and love working in this profession. And so I love being able to hear other people's stories. And so we're going to hear a little bit about your journey today, but also, how you became Marketer of the Year and your philosophies on marketing.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Yeah. So maybe can you start by just giving us a little bit of an overview of your career and how you got to RKL and your current role?
Sure. Yeah. So out of college, my first job was at the Lancaster, PA Chamber of Commerce, and I was the communications manager there. So I oversaw all of our public relations and communications efforts, faxing out, press releases on the fax machine. And really there, that's where I kind of grew an appreciation working with different business owners for what it takes to grow and to start a business. And so I really credit that experience for my interest in and my passion for business to business marketing. Really enjoyed that challenge of kind of getting inside of the mindset of a business decision maker and making that connection to a product or service that could help them reach their goals. So that sounds kind of nerdy, but that's kind of how it all started. After I had my daughter in 2007, I just wanted a little bit more flexibility. I had really great relationships with some businesses in my community, so I decided to start my own business, and really without any sort of solid plan, which I wouldn't recommend for those of you who want to manage a pipeline and then also do the consulting work and everything else. It really is a unique challenge, but it was something that I really enjoyed. So I worked with a small handful of companies where I did their marketing and their communications work, including some tech companies, a real estate development firm, some nonprofits. And RKL had actually brought me in for a small consulting project. They needed some PR help. That would have been in 2012. And so they offered me their first communications, their position. So I knew nothing, like you were saying, it's like I knew nothing about professional services marketing. I certainly didn't envision myself necessarily in that kind of model. But I was really excited about, it seemed like there was a lot of executive support for creating a really solid thought leadership and content and social media strategy. And to have that kind of latitude to be able to build something from the ground up was really exciting to me. So I kind of took the leap and I joined the firm full time in 2012. And then 3 years later was promoted to the director of marketing position when that came up. So so kind of brings us to today. So we started with 3 marketers back in 2012, and we're now at a team of 10. And so kind of in my role, I'm responsible for the brand strategy and the marketing plans for RKL CPA and advisory, for our wealth management division, for our virtual management solutions, which is essentially our CAS practice. And we tap into a wide range of tactics and strategies, anywhere from traditional advertising, public relations, event planning, sponsorships, digital marketing, kind of runs the whole gamut. That's kind of how I ended up here at RKL and in the professional services world. But I never would have saw myself here, but it has been so rewarding, and I've grown so much professionally and personally. So I am glad that I took that leap. I really do enjoy it.
Yeah, well, I think that's funny that you say that because every accounting marketer that I talk to who is a long tenured career in accounting marketing never says like this isn't what I envisioned. I never thought in when I looked at my career coming out of, college, like, oh yeah, accounting marketing, that's the field I'm going to be in, right? It's
Yeah.
easy to say, oh, I want to work in the wine industry, or I want to work,
Mhm.
in B2C, or I want to go work for a perfumery, right? But accounting firms aren't typically on the list to go like aspirationally, this is where I want to build my marketing career. So I
Wouldn't that
love
be
that we all
interesting?
land into it.
Yeah, wouldn't that be an interesting challenge though? If
Yeah,
that's how we really have to measure progress in this industry. If folks are coming out of college saying, "I really want to be an accounting marketer,"
yeah.
that's when we
Well,
know we've really changed this industry.
yeah, well, our listeners have probably heard me, if you're a repeat listener, say this before, but I went to a very B2C school, consumer driven, and for my marketing education. And so professional services just weren't talked about at all. And they still are not talked about very often in some of these academic programs. And so when I did meet an accounting firm and they're like, oh yeah, we're hiring a marketer, I'm like, what would they do for you? Like, I had
Yeah,
no idea. I only knew B2C, and I only knew like, you could hire into an account manager role. And all I knew is it was the exact opposite that I wanted to do. I'm like, I hate the idea of selling. I hate the idea of cold calling people. I love the idea of doing marketing strategy. And of course, I did what every young, naive college graduate does. And I, tried to get hired by Boston Consulting Group and all the people. And of course, they won't look at you if you don't have 20 years of experience. So
yeah,
I landed, along that path clearly, but I would love it if people came out and said, yeah, that's where I want to be, is B2B marketing. That sounds great. And
absolutely, right? Yeah, that's when we know we've
yeah.
switched things around.
So tell me more about your guiding principle in approaching growth. As you look at not just your firm's growth, but you've built a team of 10 people and you've clearly been successful, aka your awards, but also your position and your role in the firm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that it's rocket science. I think really at the end of the day, it's all about just active listening. People have a way of telling you exactly what they want and what they need when you just listen and when you ask good questions. And so whether it's, in our marketing strategy, in our brand strategy, or even consulting with our internal clients and talking them through what they're trying to achieve, or, if it's our client facing professionals and they're talking with their clients, it's really all about broadening that conversation and really getting down to what are your goals and aspirations? What are you looking to achieve? I think it's then that you kind of position yourself as that. I mean, it's, cliche, the trusted advisor thing, but, to be able to bring recommendations and solutions, you really do have to understand the bigger picture for folks. It kind of parlays into our advisors for what's next tagline. That was our newest brand tagline. And, really just, asking them what's next for you, what's big for you. And that looks different for different companies. But yeah, I would say that, really it's not rocket science, but it's all about listening, understanding where that other person is coming from, really investing in those relationships, and then the growth tends to follow.
That's great. I love that you're talking about that because I know what a big thing it is to come in and be the first marketing person in an accounting firm. It doesn't matter how much support you have from leadership, that is absolutely critical, but it's still a big jump, and shifting a culture to get them to embrace what we call as the growth mindset is so critical. And so how did you advise RKL? How did you work with some of the professionals in that listening? And what did you do to help them sort of embrace that growth mindset and really get, the marketing function and sales function off the ground with the firm?
Well, to be fair, so we do have a chief business development officer. So we've, prior to me coming on board, we definitely had an industry, strategy, a go-to market strategy. A lot of work was done well before, I kind of came on board. But, we do that through, growth is just really central to our culture. We're meeting on a regular basis in our industry verticals. We're meeting geographically. Certainly HubSpot has been probably our biggest initiative that's really changed, things for us from a growth perspective. We really used our elevated position that we were able to attain during COVID, we were having, just as most firms, we were just reaching an audience that we'd never reached before. And some of those folks are kind of just there to collect information and move on. But we also just realizing we had, an impressive pipeline of business development opportunities that we needed to follow up on. And unfortunately, we really, weren't investing the time and the effort into our CRM. And so it had really become very neglected. So we used that opportunity during COVID to really double down and say, we think the timing is right for us to take a really serious look at CRM. So that, a little off topic, but that has been, I think, something that my team has been able to contribute that has really moved the needle in a significant way for us. So yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about it. I don't think that's off topic at all. I think this is a huge hurdle. And obviously, one of the trends that we saw in our growth survey that we ran through COVID was a huge investment in digital, and HubSpot probably being the front runner on the tech stack. But I can confirm later after we complete this year's growth survey.
Yeah.
So if you haven't done it, participate, to all of our listeners, because we are measuring the MarTech stack this year.
Yeah, we looked at a lot of different options, but HubSpot, I was so glad that HubSpot was the winner, just because I love forever. I mean, gosh, they've been in the game forever. And, I probably did inbound training in 2007, and so to see their CRM product really catch up and be able to compete with some of the other CRMs is really exciting. So yeah, we, like I said, we just kind of use that opportunity to go to our CEO, to go to our senior management and say, hey, now is the time. You want to see results for all of these marketing efforts that we're undertaking. That we're reaching, a record number of people, but we're not able to trap the pipeline. We're not able to offer that visibility and that collaboration, without the right tools. So something that was shared with me, and I forget who the consultant was, but somebody said, I was watching a webinar and they talked about this concept of return on input. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. I guess, is that a well-known thing, or am I telling you? Okay.
No, it's okay. But yes, it's been around for a while, but absolutely.
Yeah, that was a game changer for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just realizing, kind of weaving it back to listening, I think we realized that return on input, that, return on the time and the investment that people are going to be putting into CRM, that was going to be different for different partners and different managers and users. For those folks that have that established book of business and they're really focused on client service, we really tried to pivot their training toward how can you collaborate with teams across, the footprint, and really keep folks, engaged in what the client's goals are and sharing information from a client service perspective. For our CAS practice, for example, really active pipeline management. So being able to see. So I think just, realizing that we couldn't have a one size fits all strategy. A mandate certainly helps. But this is not a mandate. This is change management. And you are just going to be forever kind of aligning and getting buy-in and soliciting feedback and listening. So that was kind of the strategy.
I love it. And I feel like I could dig into that topic, but I'm going to restrain myself because we've only got a few minutes left. But I couldn't agree more. One of the things that we're finding is that a lot of that CRM adoption, a lot of the pushes on, realizing how poor their client data was, even basic contact information during COVID. We are now seeing them use those CRM systems for just much more than just marketing and growth, right? It really is, for some firms, really becoming a central source of information. And we love seeing that. It's been a long time coming. We're definitely not there as a profession, but we're seeing signs of it, which is great. So in our last couple of minutes, Allison, we started the conversation about your career journey, but what advice do you have for other accounting, marketing, or business development professionals, maybe beginning their career here?
Sure.
Maybe they're stuck, or maybe they're just like, what did I get myself into? What advice?
There's always going to be a little bit of that, right? That's healthy. First of all, that's very healthy.
Why is there always a deadline?
Yeah.
Maybe answer that question. But
exactly. Two things. So one, I think always, sounds cliche again, but always understand the why behind the request that's being asked of you. Is if you're being tasked with an initiative by your managing partner or, another partner, essentially it's just understanding what's the expected outcome, right? Are we trying to drive, geographic awareness? Are we trying to gain more leads from this initiative? Is this really a retention initiative? Etc. I think that's really important because it really enables you to be that trusted advisor versus just kind of taking that order and at face value and saying this needs to be done. You want to really slow walk that, spend some time asking some really great questions, and really understand what's the outcome that this person, is trying to drive. Second thing is just to build relationships within your firm. Our industry has certainly come a really long way, but the reality is that a lot of the concepts that we're talking about at AIM or, among marketers, these are completely foreign to the people that you're working with. Mm-hmm. So if you can just find a handful of folks who, maybe they're more inclined to, participate in business development or marketing, maybe they're just really friendly folks, like build relationships with them and make them kind of your allies in getting your ideas across, because sometimes it does feel a little bit like you're a stranger in a strange land. So the relationship portion is really important. This isn't a job as a marketer where you're going to walk in on day one and they're going to say, wow, we understand your talent. We understand how to work with you, how to communicate with you. That's going to come with time. So some patience is always a good thing. And just showing that you understand and you appreciate what your internal stakeholders, want to achieve. So spend a lot of time asking great questions and building those relationships.
Any advice for the firm leaders, right? This is, you said it well, like it's new. It's going to take a minute for them to learn how to work with marketing, but any advice that you could give to them to say, this was really helpful as I carved this out for the firm the first time and something to keep in mind.
Yeah. I mean, I think, we talk a lot about this whole concept of trusted advisors. That's what we want our client-facing professionals to be. We want them to have that access to a CEO or a leader to be able to consult with them. That's really what we should be expecting from our marketing leadership. We should be asking them to be those trusted advisors. They should be at the table. Ultimately, a great marketer and a great partnership with your marketing director or your CMO is going to be focused on solving business problems through marketing. It's not going to be, let's talk about the latest campaign. Really, that person should spend a lot of time listening to your vision and your goals. Now, how do I go ahead and deploy a marketing plan that will help solve that? So set a high bar, expect more from your marketing leadership, but bring them to the table.
I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Allison, thank you so much for joining. We are out of time for today, but I know we could have kept going. But we really appreciate all of your feedback. Thank you so much.
Really fast. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sarah and team.
And thank you to all of our listeners.